Right now, somewhere out there, someone weaker than you is pulling ahead. Why? Because they appear certain. Their words carry no hesitation. Their movements declare that they are entitled to everything within reach, and the world believes them. Meanwhile, you pause. You think too long. You wait for the perfect line, the perfect timing, the perfect feeling. And while you wait, someone else takes what could have been yours. Confidence is not a trait. It is a weapon. If you do not wield it, someone else will use it against you. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. The bold advance even when they lack skill. The hesitant are abandoned even when they are brilliant. Power never bows to talent. It bends to certainty. This is not a motivational speech. This is a turning point. The aim is not to comfort you, but to strip away hesitation, to teach you to speak with the authority of a ruler, to move with the expectation of obedience. From this moment on, weakness will no longer be excused. It will be burned out and replaced. You were not born fragile. You were made that way, conditioned through repetition, rewards, and rules to obey, to seek approval, to ask permission. What lives inside you now is not a man but a servant, trained to please, programmed to submit, a loyal dog trembling before judgment and waiting for permission to act. That inner voice telling you to hold back, to overthink, to apologize before you speak, that voice is not you, it is the servant. And unless you destroy it, you will never be free. Powerful men do not arrive with noise. They arrive with presence, not through their voice but through silence, stillness, and the weight of their gaze. You do not need to be famous. You do not need to be liked. What matters is that the atmosphere shifts the moment you enter. That is how a man moves when he owns the room. Not because someone told him he could, but because he behaves as though he always could. Machiavelli saw this in the courts of power. The ruler was not always the king. Sometimes it was the man in the corner, the one who spoke rarely. Yet when he did, the entire court leaned forward. Silence is command. Speaking endlessly does not establish dominance. It makes you predictable. The quiet man is the threat, because no one knows his thoughts. When you step into a room, you do not seek permission. You do not look for recognition. You observe, you absorb. You allow others to rush, to prove themselves, while you calculate. Your posture speaks before your mouth ever does. You move slowly, not because you are uncertain, but because you are never in a hurry. Predators do not sprint except in the moment of the strike. Until then, they wait, calm, poised, unshaken. Most men never notice how fast they move, how quickly they speak, how often they interrupt. They are still trapped in the need to impress, still chained to the judgment of others. But when you enter as if you already own the space, you do not speak to impress, you speak to decide. Every word lands as final. Every sentence feels like an endpoint. People begin to listen differently. They adjust themselves to you. They do not challenge. They yield. And when they speak, you wait. You let them reveal themselves. You let their hunger, their fear, their insecurity spill out first. Because the man who speaks too soon always exposes what he fears most. Once you know that, you can bend him to your will. You do not chase energy. You pull it in. Confidence at this level is not about being liked. It makes others question their own place just by standing near you. So you behave as if you have already won. Not arrogant, but beyond competition, as if you were self-appointed. If they respect you, fine. If they do not, even better. Indifference to recognition is the highest form of power. And if the room did not belong to you when you entered, when you leave, they will remember it as if it did, not because you demanded it, because you never needed to. Words are not just sounds, they are weapons. Most men wield them like apologies. You can hear it instantly. Their tone rises at the end of every sentence. Nervous laughter slips through. Phrases like, I think, maybe, I'm not sure, but They speak as if they are begging permission to exist. That is not speaking. That is sabotage. Machiavelli understood a brutal truth. Power is rarely about the content of your words. It lies in the way you deliver them. When you speak as though refusal is impossible, people stop dissecting your sentences. They bend under the weight of your certainty. This is the game. People are not rational. They are emotional. They do not follow truth. They follow conviction. If you sound sure, they assume you are right. If you hesitate, they assume you are irrelevant. So what does a Machiavellian voice sound like? It is slow, steady, deliberate. Each word lands like a decree, not an invitation. You speak as a man who expects obedience. It does not matter if you are surrounded by experts. If you sound like a decision, they yield. The rule is simple. Sound like the ending, not the beginning. And here is what no one ever tells you. Respect is not won through endless talking. The more you speak, the more chances you give others to decode you, to challenge you, or worse, to stop fearing you. Speak less, mean more. Cut away softness. No excess. No excuses. No apologies. Never say, "I might be wrong," or "I'm not sure," but those are the escape hatches of the weak. Burn them shut. Say what you mean, and leave it there. Let others squirm in the silence that follows. Because silence after strength is dominance. It dares people to challenge you, and most never will. Why? They fear what you might say next. Understand this. Your tone is the real message. Words are only the surface. But tone, calm, grounded, intentional, signals exactly where you stand in the hierarchy. If you want to rise, lower your pitch, slow your rhythm, strip away nervous energy. Sound like a man with nothing to prove and everything under control. Sound like someone who has already decided and expects the world to adjust. You do not win conversations by shouting louder. You win by speaking in a way that makes your words feel inevitable. They are not suggestions, they are reality. This is how kings speak, how generals speak, how exiled rulers speak before they reclaim their throne. And when someone dares to oppose you, never justify. Redirect. Do not argue, do not explain, do not defend. Say, "I disagree." Or better, "That is not true." Then move on. That refusal to debate sends a chilling signal. Your reality is not up for negotiation. This is how you control a room without ever raising your voice. Confidence is not volume. It is gravity. It is the invisible weight behind your words. It is the assumption that when you speak, others must listen. That when you speak, the room must feel it. Not through noise, not through arrogance, but through an unshakable certainty. You are not trying to be right. You speak as though you cannot be wrong. You are not trying to be heard. You speak as though agreement is inevitable, because eventually it will be. That is power. From this point forward, you either speak with it or you stay silent. Confidence without control is nothing but decoration. You can walk tall, command attention, and carry yourself with authority. But if a single insult can trigger you, you are not powerful. You are exposed. This is where most men fail. They master presence. They master words. But their emotions still belong to other people. A light insult makes them lash out. A compliment melts them. Silence drives them into panic. You are not free until you win the invisible war. The war inside your own mind. And that begins with reshaping your identity. Machiavelli saw this in the courts of power. He did not fear enemies. He feared dependency, whether emotional or otherwise. He did not trust feelings. He trusted control. Because once others know what shakes you, they know where to press. And once they know where to press, you are no longer dangerous. You are manageable. Manageable men are disposable, discarded the moment they lose usefulness. The transformation begins when you stop reacting and start calculating. Someone insults you. You do not defend yourself. You observe. You gather data. What are they trying to extract from you? What are they hiding behind their insult? Someone praises you. You do not soften. You analyze. Why now? What do they want? Someone ignores you. You do not crumble. You grow colder. Silence becomes your weapon, not your wound. This is what it means to be untouchable in the mind. Not emotionless, but unshakable. You feel everything, yet act only when it serves your purpose. When challenged, you do not rage. You do not display irritation. Why? Because your mind is not public property. It is a fortress, and you alone decide who enters. That is how you stop being manipulated. Most men are laughably easy to control. Tell them they are not good enough. They explain themselves to death. Tell them they are brilliant. They chase you for approval. Withdraw from them emotionally. They beg for reconnection. This is not power. This is programming. And until you break that code, you will always be someone else's tool. So, how do you reshape yourself? You kill the need to be understood. That is the root virus. The urge to explain yourself, to be seen, to be validated, that is what makes you weak. Burn it. You do not exist to be understood. You exist to make the world around you move strategically, precisely, silently. You kill the fear of rejection. Because a Machiavellian mind does not chase acceptance. It controls access. You do not beg for entry. You make others fear exclusion. And you kill the reflex of emotional reaction. Emotions are real but irrelevant unless weaponized. Anger becomes fuel. Insults become leverage. Doubt becomes silence. And silence becomes evidence when results follow. This is how powerful men are built. Not by becoming numb, but by becoming undeniable. Because once no one can shake you emotionally, all they can do is watch you move with precision and dread what you might do next. Let others chase peace and understanding. You chase clarity and control because the world does not care about how you feel. It only reacts to what you project: certainty, direction, gravity. And when your identity becomes unshakable, you become dangerous. Not because you are violent, not because you are loud, but because you are untouchable. People will test you. They will challenge you. They will flatter you. They will ignore you. They will tempt you. None of it works. You remain the same. Cold, calm, calculated. Over time, they stop trying to manipulate you because they realize something terrifying. You are the only one they cannot move. That is the final transformation. Not posture, not words, not image. Identity. You are no longer shaped by others. You shape the room. You shape the rules. You shape the outcome. You do not need to be understood. You do not need to be accepted. You need nothing from anyone, because you no longer belong to anyone. That is what makes you untouchable. Rejection feels like a wound to the weak. To the powerful, it is a signal, a gift, a message that you were too accessible, too transparent, too eager. Good. Now you know what must be destroyed. Rejection is not personal. It is positional. People reject what they believe they can live without. If they say no to you, it means they think they lose nothing. That is not an insult. That is information. It shows you where they stand and where you stand. It tells you exactly how to reposition yourself for the strike later, when they weaken and you have become untouchable. Step 1. Never show you are affected. The moment you display pain, they win. It has nothing to do with them. It has everything to do with your myth. A Machiavellian mind does not panic when a door closes. It makes the air in the room colder. You were not rejected. They lost access to you. Rejection only exists when you acknowledge it, so you do not react. You evolve. Step 2. Withdraw your presence as a weapon. What happens when something taken for granted disappears? Its weight is suddenly felt. Its value becomes undeniable. That is exactly what you do when faced with rejection. You vanish. No explanation. No emotional farewell, just strategic absence. And while they feel the void, you build. Machiavelli wrote that men must be treated generously or destroyed, for they will seek revenge for small wounds but not for total ruin. So do not wound them, make them irrelevant. Make your silence louder than your words. Force them to wonder where you have gone, how far you have advanced, and whether they ever truly had access to you at all. Step 3. Rewrite the story. Rejection only carries power if it looks like you were chasing something. So rewrite it. Not for them, but for yourself. You were not rejected. You removed yourself from a game too small for you. You allowed them to say no because you were studying their behavior. You gave them the chance to recognize power. They failed. And in that failure, they revealed everything you needed to know. Now you vanish and ascend. Step 4. Turn rejection into control. This is where you win. Rejection is clarity. Most people live in fog, unsure who respects them, who uses them, who fears them. Rejection slices through that fog like a blade. Now you know who is blind. Now you know where your power has not yet reached. So what do? You sharpen your blade. You sharpen your image. You magnify your value until those who ignored you must justify themselves when they speak your name. And the next time they return, and they will return, you will not even need to reject them. You will have evolved far beyond their reach. That is control. Silent, permanent, elegant. Step 5 is weaponizing your return. The goal is never revenge. Revenge is emotional. Machiavellian power is always calculated. You do not strike back. You let time handle that for you. You reappear only when your presence disrupts the air. When your success is so visible, it cannot be ignored. When the same people who once dismissed you now watch you dominate the space they swore you did not belong in, you do not gloat. You do not mock. You do not seek validation. You offer only a glance, or better, no glance at all. Because you are no longer asking to be accepted. You are setting the standard. Rejection is not failure. It is a filter, a test, a fire that reveals what must be cut away, what must be left behind, and what must turn to stone. You were never rejected. You were redirected into a version of yourself that does not ask twice, does not waver, and does not wait to be chosen. You build in silence, and when you return as a force no one can deny. You have been reshaped, not inspired, not comforted, but rebuilt from the inside out. Self-doubt is dead, not by affirmations, but by action. You did not wait to feel ready. You moved. You acted. And you discovered that power does not belong to the flawless. It belongs to the bold. You took rejection and forged it into fuel. You no longer chase recognition. You force people to feel the weight of losing you. You have become scarce, strategic, silent, and they notice. You no longer walk into rooms for approval. You own them with presence, posture, and precision. You no longer speak to be heard. You speak as though disagreement is impossible. Above all, you have redefined your identity. No longer predictable. No longer easy to move. Untouchable. Immune to provocation. Immune to temptation. Immune to manipulation. Because you belong to no one. And that makes you unforgettable. That is how legends are forged. Not by noise, not by reputation, but by powerful silence, cold clarity, ruthless consistency. You do not announce your transformation. They feel it in your movement, in your tone, in your absence. You become the man people study quietly. The one who once chased is now hunted. The one who once asked now decides. The one who no longer needs validation has become the standard. This is not about confidence. It is about domination, mental, emotional, psychological. You are not here to fit in. You are here to move the pieces, to bend the room, to haunt their memory even in silence. Legends do not beg. Legends do not explain. They exist, and the world bends itself around them. So, if you are done chasing, like this video, subscribe if you are ready to become the kind of man they cannot control, cannot predict, and cannot forget. This is not self-help. This is war, and you have just become a weapon.